For this last part, we're gonna go ahead and finalize our model. So here's where I'm at right now after many hours of just tweaking the face so that it looks more like the actual concept. I reach a point in which I'm happy with the results. Let's go ahead now and start duplicating these areas. First off, I want to go into my wireframe. And here, one thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to select my faces and probably just erase the top part of these faces, as we really only need this much. As we rig this character, we don't want this geometry to go through. So let's go ahead and delete those faces. And now go into object mode, mesh, mirror. So by default, here's what you're going to have. Merge settings. Let's go ahead and click off combine with original, as we want a separate piece of geometry. Go ahead and hit apply. Once you do, select this object, press 3. Then we're going to delete all by history. And lastly, we're gonna freeze transformation, modify, freeze transformation. Now let's repeat the process with the shoe. Delete the history, modify, freeze transformations, and now let's go into mesh, mirror. Once you do, press number 3, hit close. Now if the shoelaces did not transfer over, you can select them manually, create a group, so Ctrl G, and then we can select that group, duplicate, and scale on X, -1. Make sure to do the same with the sock. However, in this case, we're gonna mirror it. And remember to press number 3 so it is smooth. Lastly, we'll repeat this process one more time with the eye. Make sure your eye is grouped together. Ctrl G, Ctrl D to duplicate, and then scale on X, -1. Next, we're gonna go ahead now, select our entire character. We are going to, one more time, delete all by history, modify, and freeze the transformations. And lastly, we're going to group everything together. Using the outliner now, make sure that all is good to go. When you work with the outliner, if you want to remove or just move anything here, you can hold down middle mouse button, click and drag. Whenever you have groups, such as this, that do not have a plus sign, that means that those are empty groups. We can go ahead and delete those by hitting delete in your keyboard. It might also be a good idea to save at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So there is a bunch of empty groups here. We're gonna go ahead and delete that as well. Just more empty groups, delete that. Here's a nerve sphere that does not seem to be on my scene. So let's delete that as well. Now for this next step, what we want to do is to start to create a name convention for our character. This will come in extremely handy and useful for our next step, which will be rigging this character. The first thing you want to do is to come up with a name, and with a short abbreviation, not longer than 4 letters, to describe the character. In this case, we're going to name this character Teacher. So we're going to, for short, TCHR. So that's going to be the name of our character. Then we're going to add an underscore. Maya is Linux based, meaning that Maya does not like spaces. Instead, what you want to do is underscore. So again, we have the name of the character, then underscore. Then we're going to label what it is. So we're going to do Geo, G-E-O. Now this one will stand for geometry. We'll do another underscore, and we're gonna go ahead, and because it's a group, we're gonna do G-R-P for group. This will now be very easy to identify, and we understand that this would mean that our main character is all grouped under this section here. When we open that up, you would see all the geometry that we've used to create our character. If we were to hand this over now to a rigger in some sort of pipeline or company, we gotta make sure that we deliver this properly. And the way to do it is going to be to now group together and label each one of the geometry that we have used to create our character. This will make the process a little bit easier on the hands of whoever ends up having our character. Not only that, it's going to look very professional, and you're going to come across as somebody that actually knows what they're doing. So let's go ahead now and start grouping this together, as well as naming all of these. So the first object that I have here is part of the tie. So why don't we grab the entire tie, the three objects we have, the band, the knot, and the actual tie. Let's go ahead and group those together. Control G, look for that group, and remember, we're gonna use and keep a consistent name convention. First, the name, teacher underscore, then what it is, tie underscore, and then it's also a group because it's combined of three objects. We're gonna go ahead and do GRP for group. Now we're looking at the shoelaces. So let's go ahead and grab all of those, as well as the actual shoe, missing one there, and the sock. All of these, we're gonna go ahead now and group together. Look for that group, double click, go ahead and name it. Also notice that the naming convention is all in small caps. This also allows for easy accessibility, and when we start rigging, this is going to come in very, very handy. You will kind of like waste time if you start combining upper letters and lower letters, lowercase letters. So teacher, shoe, and this time around we're going to add be left or right. Let's do group underscore, and this one is going to be considered our left, LF for left. Let's go ahead and repeat the process one more time for the other shoe. Rename it accordingly. This time around, we're going to do RT for right. Take those two, group them together, go ahead and label them. Then repeat the same process. Up next, we have the face, in which we're going to be labeling teacher. Let's do head. Coming up, we have the actual mouth, so we can now maybe hide the face. Control H. Make sure all of it is selected. Group that together. Let's label it teacher teeth. Group top. Select the bottom. Repeat the process. Now I noticed that these polygons are floating here, and that's probably a mistake. We don't need none of those. Delete that if you're running into the same issue. Now let's say you missed an object just like I did here. Apparently I missed that one. So remember, you can move in the outline, or you can move objects through the outline, better yet, by going into middle mouse button drag. So I'm going to middle mouse button and set it up on the correct group. Click and drag, middle mouse button. There we go. Move it on. Label this one accordingly. Pants. Eyebrows. Well, actually, this is not a group, so we'll just call it eyebrows. Tongue. Grab the following object and repeat the process. I would actually grab that object as well as a shirt. So all of this we're gonna go ahead and group together, and now we're gonna relabel it shirt. So now I will bring back the head, Shift H, and I'll grab the hair. Before doing that, let me go in and label this accordingly. And now I can control select the head and group it all together. One small change I'm gonna make here is that instead of calling this one head, I'm gonna call this one face. And therefore, now I have my face geometry here, hair geometry here, and both, which will be the head. I can bring in the actual eyebrows to this group as well. Remember, middle mouse button. We'll call this one arm right, and lastly arm left. All right, congratulations. You have finished successfully your character model. Up next, we're going to start now rigging the character. See you then.